BTC is not Bitcoin, according to Craig Stephen Wright, or you might call him Craig Satoshi Wright. Anyway, coming out of this court case, Craig has been saying this for several years, that BTC is not Bitcoin. And he did the BCH fork, and that thing got messed up, and now he's like, BSV, like actually follow the white paper. But in any case, I want to point out a couple of threats to Bitcoin, Bitcoin that are happening right now. So let's look at technicals. Let's talk about the Craig White Black Swan patents, legal issues with BCH, and then look at some indicators. Largely, treasuries is my favorite indicator. And so please like, share, comment, subscribe, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, let's do this. Okay, so I'm in on an hourly chart. So let's just look at some technicals right here since we are right here. So just kind of going back a month or two, you can see our kind of bullish support that's been running for a bunch of years. We hopped on top. We picked up this downtrend line, right, and we're holding underneath it. And so just from a technical perspective, we're pressing on the bullish line. Here's the bullish channel. And so, I mean, we're just kind of in this triangle right now. And it is threatening a little move down, but there's another channel support right underneath here at 44. So we'll see if it pulls down to 44, what kind of action we get. If this channel holds, then we could get a move back to this bearish trend line. I mean, who knows? If it's going to break down, it could do a lot more junk before it does. But regardless of any of that, basically breaking out of this, which is around 50s, 51 to 53, depending on where we hit it. Like if we break out of here again, that's going to be a bullish look. If we break down underneath this 44 to 45 area here, there's not a whole lot below. Like big down moves are possible from that spot. So yeah, let's pop out to the daily chart, look at the momentum, and then we'll talk about Craig Wright, because I've been watching tons and tons of interviews with him. The entire Theory of Bitcoin interview set that he did, where he explains the entire white paper and how Bitcoin is supposed to function inside of the law as not like smart contracts, but just normal legal contracts between people. And yeah, so you can see momentum going bearish and then rejecting farther bearish. RSI's staying pinned down. So this is all really bearish momentum. We have the breakdown off of that channel, and then we have the little stab and the roll. So usually if you get a stab and you follow it, like you'll get solid candles that go, well, not like vertical necessarily, but you'll get solid candle movement that comes below the little stab. So yeah, if we break down below this 45 area, like I would expect a move down and not much below. So that's critical spot. Like 45 is critical. And then there's a little horizontal area that's not important around 35. And then we've got a downward trend channel around 30 somewhere where we could get some activity. But like we don't have any real support if we start a bear channel move until we get down to this 13 to 14 range. And this 13 to 14 range has a bunch of support. We'll come into a big channel line, a big support channel line, and a bear channel line crossing. Tons of support, and we have horizontal support around 12. Let's go back and look at that. So you can see that's where we started and took off on this bubble. It was around 12. So, and by this bubble, I mean just the last year or so when we did this this big move up to the top of the ribbon. So yeah, anyway, this is a downside target that I expect. That's my target right here, this crisscross at like 14 March, whatever. And so yeah, as far as kind of an entry or something, never short Bitcoin, right? But what if BTC is not Bitcoin? Is it okay to short it then? Not financial advice. as usual. But I did want to talk a little bit about the structure of BTC versus the white paper, which there's a couple important distinctions. Like the Bitcoin's a decentralized system that widely publishes the hash to everyone so that everyone can verify something has not changed. And everybody actually does seem to know that, but they don't realize that BTC doesn't do that because the block sizes are small, and so you end up hitting a scalability roof, which is hitting already, and now you have to go out and do something like the Lightning Network, which is not a decentralized verification system. The point of Bitcoin is to not need a third party where everyone can verify together that things haven't changed without a trusted third party. When you go to something like the Lightning Network, you're defeating the entire purpose of Bitcoin, and the Lightning Network is a trusted third party system, like a bank or something like that, and that's straight up just not Bitcoin. They took a few other things out, like the scripting system that was originally in Bitcoin is taken out, like the in locks, the timers that were originally in Bitcoin for writing contracts between people were taken out, and so the entire point of Bitcoin is to have a system where you can write contracts between people, including times and including more complicated arrangements that you could script up, and then have those contracts be verifiable without a trusted third party. Like that's the entire point of Bitcoin. Anyway, BTC has already completely failed at that. Like they've broken almost everything that was originally in Bitcoin. But the BSV branch is the one now that has all the original stuff and is what I consider actually Bitcoin. But in any case, just looking at the chart as far as trading goes, this is, picking up bearish momentum. It's looking a little scary. And I would say now if we get a rally into this 53 area up here, like that's a super obvious short entry. If we can't make it up there and we start breaking down below the 45, that's also a pretty obvious short entry area. So right now I'm just kind of watching it and checking a short entry. And the BITO, I think, is the way that I would be doing that. I would be put options on the BITO ETF, which it looks like it's doing even worse than Bitcoin, but it's not. It's not the exact same chart because the ETF doesn't have weekends. The BTC trades 24 hours. But anyway, let's go look at treasuries because we are actually making a push below the bullish long-term several year trend right now. We're pushing below, and I want to see what the treasuries are doing. Treasuries like attempting a breakout, pull back now, again attempting a breakout. So this is the number one thing that Bitcoin hates, just in terms of macroeconomic stuff, is an up move in treasuries. That last huge pullback that we had in Bitcoin was right here. This whole treasury up move like caused that last big pullback in Bitcoin. And if we get another big treasury up move here, and you can see we've started to push and Bitcoin has started to roll over, but it doesn't believe it yet. But as soon as we actually have a treasury trend established and we really are in a treasury uptrend, Bitcoin will freak out. Like the treasury market is huge and BTC is a way smaller market, and so like an established trend doesn't have to be a big move in treasuries, but as soon as you get that established uptrend, BTC is gonna hate that. And that is the macro look, and you can see from the technicals is turning bearish on the momentum and kind of setting up some bearish structures. And then right, the huge elephant in the room is that Craig Stephen Wright, who has claimed he created Bitcoin the entire time, has now won his court case and is now free to come out with his patents or move the Satoshi coins around. And so like those sort of things could happen at random any day. And so there's just the threat of sort of BTC being legally challenged or just being like non-legally challenged, just like being called out as a fraud. and starting a fork war between the different forks of Bitcoin. And so that's kind of the crazy thing to look out for, like right now, is like what is going on here. And I think it's a little bit more than just like we're just near the top of this thing, kind of. That's what I've been saying for the last couple of months, is just like, what is, it looks like a topping pattern, like what's the pattern? But now it's like there's a little bit more than just a little technical topping pattern going on here. This thing's getting crazy. And then, so if you go into the other coins like Ethereum, Ethereum has the same kind of small block problem, and it can't be a decentralized, like, non-third party verification system like the Bitcoin and the white paper is. And so it's the same flaws as BTC. It's not truly decentralized. And we've known that because Ethereum is pre-mined, and now they're trying to do proof of stake, which is like if you have a bunch of Ethereum, you just like collect interest on those coins, and then everyone else just kind of deals with it. So I think Ethereum and BTC, if this all happens, are going to get, well, in big trouble, both in the stock trading chart and in general, like existing at all. Like they're going to be threatened. And this is going to affect almost every altcoin. Like there's hardly any other altcoins that even scale. Like Monero scales, but it's privacy. Like it's a privacy coin. It's a different kind of setup that's not legally compliant. So that's a whole different argument between those two. But most all of the coins that are using small blocks are forks of like BTC or something like that are going to be they're going to be in big trouble if that all happens. So yeah, that's just kind of a general look. Let's flip through the market. So S&P is just kind of chilling up here at the top of the channel, which is kind of a risky spot, and it's not making a big move right now, but this is a really weird spot to enter like a long trade. And then the S&P is really hard to short because everything rotates inside of the S&P. It gets really tough. NASDAQ is holding. People are rotating into the FANG stocks. So I covered a lot of these kind of technicals, and these will relate to Bitcoin a little bit as well, because there's a lot of margin in Bitcoin as well. So I was just doing a video about margins threatening mostly like probably the smaller techie high risk kind of stocks. But if we have a margin pullback, like those will be the ones that get in trouble first. And it looks like they're already starting to do that. So you can go watch that on my previous video. And then I've got a big playlist of all of these Wright, Satoshi events that have been happening over the last couple of weeks, and like how Bitcoin's responding. If you want to go check out that information. And then I would recommend like read the white paper also. If you're investing in crypto, you should probably do that anyway. But if you go watch Theory of Bitcoin videos on YouTube, there's this whole series of videos about Bitcoin in general, but especially like on the white paper, like every section of the white paper, every sentence, and like how Bitcoin is supposed to function. And it's a combination of a lot of things that people don't really understand. Like it's just like common law contracts between people, not smart, super techie contracts, like common law contracts. And the crypto aspect is not for security, that's for scaling. Like you encrypt the blocks and the headers and the timestamps, and you go hash inside of a hash, so that all you need is one little hash, and you can verify everything below that hash has not changed, and that's all you need. And you can widely distribute that hash to everyone. It's tiny. So you have everyone on the entire network, not just the nodes. Every user can verify nothing has changed. So if you change one token, like the entire hash gets screwed, and everybody notices. And like if you're a node, if you're a miner, and you do that, everyone's gonna be like, "Whoa, what's going on? Is this person trying to cheat?" And if you are, like your business is done. Like you're in big trouble. So that's kind of the idea with Bitcoin, and this is why BTC is not working, because you have to have scalable blocks, and you have to have the decentralized hashes being verified, so that you don't need a third party. That's the entire point of Bitcoin. and you have BTC already failing at that, and Lightning Network becoming a small group of people, third-party situation. That's the entire purpose of Bitcoin, is to get away from that. So go watch those videos on my playlist and like Theory of Bitcoin, and you can go look up the court case. Like I have videos on that as well. But you go look up the court case and you can see all the information about the different members at different points during the project came out in court, and they were trying to sue each other over who has legal rights to like some software that was developed or the Bitcoin that was mined. But if you go watch the court case, like you'll see tons of information about like who is Satoshi, and effectively, I mean, what I think is Craig Wright is solely Satoshi in terms of creating the white paper and creating the project and being like the lead architect and scientist that created Bitcoin. But like that Satoshi pseudonym was used during the original development group, which looks like it was about 3 people. So just as far as like who's Satoshi, it's like, well, the Satoshi on the pen name on the white paper is Craig, but they used that pseudonym a little, like early project, and then they dropped it because people died, and then they stopped using the pseudonym, and then Bitcoin got all screwed up, and they like defeated the whole purpose of decentralized blockchain network. So then Craig had to like come out. He didn't want to come public. He wanted to just like create it and have it work and have people use it. But in any case, there's tons and tons of information on this, and it's definitely worth looking into all of this. If you're trading crypto, like you should understand all of this and figure out for yourself what you think. And if you're gonna develop and pick like a network like Ethereum or BTC or BSV to try to develop, scripts on or apps, like BSV is the actual one that matches the white paper. Not saying that the other ones don't have any merit or anything like that, like, and you can develop things on those chains, but it's kind of like if you want to develop something, you kind of got to pick the one that's going to win out long term. And so that's a huge decision to make as an investor or a trader or like a developer. Anyway, that's a huge look at what Bitcoin's doing right now. And legally, I guess, just talking about like the white paper and the code and the blockchain itself, like the database, like the white paper is copyrighted under the pen name. And, like, nobody's trying to mess with the white paper, but the code is open source, and so you can completely look at the code, and you can take it and you can write something similar. Like, that's fine and legal. But the blockchain itself is a database that has data in it, and like Satoshi, whoever you think that is, created that thing, and the data inside it, like the whole blockchain is public use, but that doesn't mean that you can just like take the whole blockchain with all the tokens and all the transactions and just like copy it and then call your copy Bitcoin. Like there's huge legal issues with that part of it. And so this is a huge thing about BTC, and then patents that might come out on the BCH fork. And then Craig, after he does this, will probably be like, go do the Bitcoin that actually matches the white paper. Like, I did it right the first time, and you guys screwed all this stuff up. You don't understand how it works. So he gets frustrated with people a lot. But if you watch just the interviews where he's like frustrated with other people, but like where he's explaining how every single part of it works, like you can understand, like you'll see like his depth of knowledge and his huge background on every part of this and where each piece came from. Like there's tons of other similar projects where each piece of this came from, and he put it all together and then created a peer-to-peer like node network. It's something that's never done before. Like that's the huge big thing that's never been tried, is that peer-to-peer centralized node network inside of a sort of contracting system like this. And then all the pieces like proof of work, and the decentralized like publishing and just like general online coin or cash systems, like there have been all of these things have already existed and been tried and kind of failed in different ways, but putting them all together where it actually works, and then having peer-to-peer nodes that are visible and public and are invested so that you can actually trust them, and then also having the hash widely distributed so like anyone can verify if it's changed. That's where all the security comes from. It's like from the visibility and the wide publishing of the data, and then just like the general idea that Bitcoin is like some way to get around the government. Like the whole thing is designed to be legally normal, like compliant transactions between people. Like any kind of contract or any kind of value exchange can be done on the blockchain without needing a third party, and can be done really fast and really cheap. And so that's the whole point of it. Like that's the whole point of Bitcoin. And like BTC becoming this not so decentralized situation with the Lightning Network and trading up to some huge bubble price doesn't really function as a legal system of contracting things between people or exchanging value, because Bitcoin is designed to be exchange of value for tiny amounts, like less than a penny if you want. So just like every common person has a really inexpensive way to exchange value in a safe way, and then you can structure the contracts where it's exactly a certain amount at a certain time for a certain task or whatever is being contracted, and it's guaranteed. Like again, you don't need a trusted third party. Like in an auction house, you like bid on something and it's like, is this guy good for it or not? It's guaranteed because the coins are part of the contract and they're locked up in the contract, and you can have a time limit on this and all of those sorts of things. Anyway, it's just like almost a boring legal contracting kind of arrangement, um, and not what anyone's saying it is about like some speculative asset or this or that. Like it's really just like a legal public ledger of normal transactions between people. Like, yeah. Anyway, long-winded, like kind of ran on there, but I do recommend doing as much research as possible on this stuff, because I think things are going to get a little bit crazy here, and I don't know if Bitcoin could be a threat to like the general markets, or if a margin call in the general markets could be a threat to Bitcoin, like we saw that during COVID. How those kind of things would interplay, but I think a lot of things are kind of coming to a head here, and I don't know how long that's going to take to sort of play out, but you can see right here the potential to start like something crazy on Bitcoin or on BTC, I'm sorry, is just around here. Just around here. Like this could begin by like, tonight. So, not investment advice, but please do your own research and don't just like read a bunch of random crap on Twitter and like think you know all about Bitcoin, because it is relatively complicated and it does involve a lot of things. It involves like common law, it involves cryptography and computer science and data systems. Like Bitcoin is built so that you can do logical and mathematical operations like a normal computer processor, and effectively, use Bitcoin like a computer, and it's like a protocol similar to the internet. Um, it's just like most of the crap that you read online like doesn't explain really any part of that, or not in a way that's easy to understand. But if you go research these things and look at his interviews, you can get a way better idea of how Bitcoin actually works and what it is and why it's important and all of that. And then good luck on trading the BTC. I'm pretty interested to see what happens here. So yeah, enjoy.